Welcome back, everyone. Glad to have you here. It is day 2 of LendIt Fintech LATAM 2020, and I'm delighted to have Tory Jackson of Galileo and Tiago Diaz of MasterCard here with me today. We're going to be speaking about the age of the enablers. And just a quick note about David Faliba from S&P Global Market Intelligence. He is scheduled to be our moderator today, and we've had some technical difficulties. If he can join us, we hope he does. But he did bounce during the in the green room. So I'm going to take the conversation. If David joins us, that's wonderful. Quick reminder to everyone: the chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen is where you chat amongst yourselves, make comments about what you're hearing, and then Q&A is a tab to the right of the chat. Please do ask your questions there, because you can then have those questions upvoted, and that's where you engage there. So we'll be asking those audience questions in about 25 minutes. Until then, let's kick it off. Welcome, everyone. How about a quick introduction? Tiago, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're calling in from?
Sure. I'm calling from São Paulo, Brazil. Unfortunately, we are kind of back to some sort of lockdown due to this pandemic, but also excited, and thank you both. Thank you, LendIt and Tory, for the invitation. Excited about the opportunity to talk about, enablers, the fintech environment, and the massive growing number of opportunities in the region. My background is basically on the payments industry, working for Banco Itaú, Banco Santander, and more recently for MasterCard during the last 5 years. Actually, yesterday I just completed 5 years. Now working with designing and implementing the fintech strategy across the region, and also all topics related to innovation.
Excellent, excellent. Tory?
Yeah, my name is Tory Jackson. Thank you for having me today. Great to be with you, Tiago. Personally, my name is Tory Jackson. Again, I'm the head of business development for Galileo and LATAM, and also lead our strategy and spearhead our efforts as we enter into this region. Galileo, more broadly, we really a payments innovator at our core. We currently power around 95% of neobanks in the U.S. Collaboration with issuers, enablers, and program managers all over the world, really, that leverage our platform and suite of APIs to power really the most powerful fintech programs in the industry. So clients like Chime, Robinhood, or more specific to LATAM, Klar and Voila in Mexico are some of our clients that we have here in the region.
And we just had Pierre from Voila earlier on stage, and man, is he dynamic. Do you find it challenging to keep up with a guy like Pierre?
Pierre is a very impressive individual, and it's amazing to see how his energy really resonates through his entire team and organization. So they've been a very fantastic partner to work with, and I feel like they've definitely helped us as an enabler become better in step with them. So really excited to have them as a partner and being able to work with them and him as an individual.
Yeah, for sure. Let's kick it off with the obvious question, but I'm sure you have some very subtle answers, and that is, in terms of COVID, how has that been impacting your businesses, and broadly speaking, financial services, and with a special emphasis maybe on financial inclusion, which seems to be a very strong theme over the past day and a half?
Yeah, I think definitely if you look to Latin America, where cash is definitely at a cultural level kind of reigns supreme in terms of the transactionality and the way that people are using their money. I would say that COVID has definitely been a catalyst and already progressive movement towards the digitalization of transactions and payments in general. So to Pierre's comments, he spoke on the silver lining, and I think it is one of the great things that's really helping in terms of providing financial inclusion in a region that it's definitely needed. So Excited. Obviously, it's tragic and how what it's done, you know, to a lot of people. But in terms of payments, it's great to see and how it's done things to improve people's lives and quality of lives and what kind of tools they have access to.
Tiago, how about from the MasterCard view? I mean, you've got a
Yeah.
very broad mandate, really. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think this global commitment on including the next billion of people and reaching 40 million small businesses, facilitating access to the financial system is kind of an important statement globally. But when we take a look at Latin America, I think that there are four key components of these, behavior change, and also what happened because of this new need for digital payments, right? From the issuer sides, we see massive issuance of contactless cards, which was something that we've been pushing for a while. On the acquiring side, both online acceptance solutions like Pay by Link and also the replacement of old POSs enabling NFC. On the consumer side, for sure, a huge transformation on their behavior and willing to accept, on how to better shop online. There is a challenge on that also, on adding a relevant layer of security. And the last one is government, right? So most of you know that, the Corona voucher program in Brazil included 36 million people in the financial system in a matter of months, right? So I think it's the largest financial inclusion program ever seen in the globe. So I think the combination of the four are, a big impact to what's to come now in the coming years.
Yeah, for sure. And yesterday we heard that in Mexico, 13 million new people entered the digital system. I probably said that incorrectly, but it has certainly been, we can all acknowledge the pain of COVID, but it has certainly been a gift for some. And certainly in the battle against cash, this is a boost for those of us that are rooting for digital adoption. So now there's a lot of things going on here, and really there's been a flood of cash right now. 2.1 billion in fintech investing in 2019. 2020 has seen a similar amount of fintech investing in LATAM, broadly defined. So there's a lot of competition, and you two have a fantastic view of the competitors because you enable them, you partner with them, and so on. So let's talk about recipes for success there, and also, maybe comment. Actually, no, I'm going to hold my second question. Let's talk about recipes for success, and then we'll move to the next question.
Good.
Yeah, I think what's really great, and if you think about all the amazing companies that are serving customers, they're serving businesses directly. They're very hyper focused on the user experience. Your user experience is a theme, very much talked about, with fintechs. And they're very hyper focused on that user and the needs and what they need, right? And so they're developing this recipe to really serve the market. And so I think that's key, is to be able to, as an enabler, have your ear to the ground and listening to what these very smart and capable teams that are very tuned into the customer and the recipe that they've put together. And really, behind the recipe, you have the ingredients. What are the ingredients that are making up the components to that recipe? And you have to have the absolute best. And so I think that in terms of being an enabler is really providing, the best products possible and making them consumable by those that are serving the immediate, the customer, the one that will be using the end product. So that's what I would say in terms of the recipe, and really the enablers being the ingredients that go into that.
Yeah, sure. That's definitely a key component of Mastercard's strategy, right? So when we think about how we want to work and collaborate with fintechs, which by the way, Galileo is also considered a fintech for us, and any other report or database will also flag Galileo as a fintech on the enablement side. But the way we approach this segment is through Mastercard Accelerate for Fintech. When we think about this program, which is global, this is designed to accelerate the way they change the world. This can be financial inclusion, this can be access to credit, this can be related to real-time payments, open banking, and even way beyond cards, right? There are 4 key pillars there, and I think this is kind of the recipe that you are asking for, and you understand why enablers such as Galileo as a partner are key components of this strategy. So when we talk to fintechs, we say, we want to drive speed and simplicity. We want to be commercially adaptable. We want to enable global reach and scale. And we want to bring to you what we have, as the best from a product and innovation perspective. When we partner with Galileo, it's pretty much to accelerate and scale even more every single component of this strategy, right? So speed and simplicity is a great example, right? So by being able to launch a new program in less than 90 days, sometimes even faster than the time you take to produce the actual card, it's something that we could never imagine a couple of months ago, right? So this is the kind of recipe that I truly believe when we join forces and have this kind of similar tone of voice and messaging to the ecosystem, this resonates a lot.
And you said you couldn't imagine this a couple of months ago. Are you like, that surprises me. Is that, did you misspeak there?
No,
what
that's
happened
it.
in the last 6 months?
When I was working directly for Brazil market, it was not that normal to onboard and launch new programs in the massive number that we are doing today. So it was kind of easy for us to just say, for a new bank or a new big company, look, you will take 3 months to get the license and another 6 to 7 months to implement and launch your program. This does not work anymore, right? So we had to rapidly get feedback from the market, and partners such as Galileo evolve and then come back with a revamped solution and way of doing business, right, at the end of the day. So being able to quickly onboard and launch fintech programs is something that we saw in the last, I would say, 10 months max.
That's amazing. And so let's talk about some cases where, and I want to remind everyone, I'm just glancing over here at the Q&A box. Please do enter your questions into Q&A so that I can field them toward the end of the session. We will go a little bit long this morning because we started a little bit late, so my apologies for that. But do enter your questions, and we'll get to those in a minute. So in terms of that speed to market and launching quickly and geographical expansion and global reach and all of that, let's get into some details. Are there some examples, perhaps some case studies that you can point to that can really bring those to life through example?
Yeah, I think Voila, that we've mentioned a couple times already. They're a great case study in showing, really launching in the market with a lot of the boxes checked and the capabilities that their customers are looking for, and really hitting the ground with all of that already enabled. And so I think as an enabler, it's important that we're able to keep up with that pace and even push that pace even more quickly, right? Thiago brought up, speed to market. As an enabler, it's our responsibility to our clients to be able to always be increasing how fast we're able to move, and innovation on one side of obviously new products and features that the market demands is a great piece, but also innovating around how fast we can bring these features to our customers. And so that's something also that we're doing in the US. It's not quite available in LATAM yet, but we have a new product called Galileo Instant that cuts that 90 days down to, in the US, you can bring up a new program in as little as 2 weeks, and it's not necessarily, you don't even need to be a fintech or have you know, your cohort of developers that are focused on launching this, but it's something that anyone can do. And so I think, you know, it's our duty to really make, you know, financial inclusion not just more accessible for our clients, but make it more accessible for everybody, and being able to participate and issue tools that enable digital payments. So I think that would be another use case, as well as just offering you know, an API-based solution that permits collaboration and, you know, accessibility to those APIs, so that, you know, individuals and developers and those are able to get in and try your platform. We've built that with our sandbox environment, you know, that anybody can come in and take a look and participate and try what it is to use Galileo.
Tiago, any comments there?
Yeah, I would say that's the way to go, right? When you take a look at the ecosystem in LAC, it's like 1,700 companies being called Fintechs, right? With 50% of them targeting financial inclusion use cases, and the same 15% are all under payments, lending, and enterprise management solutions, right? So there is a huge number of companies, use cases, you know, that need to be tested. There are lots of hypotheses, and this sandbox environment, this you know, speed to market also allows to you know, any company to launch, test, and scale their hypothesis. So I think this is the mindset that startups and fintechs, you know, bring to us as a demand, and that's the way we respond back, saying, look, we have the environment ready for you to work with. We have the partners for you to reach out to, and to combine all the pieces, build the blocks, and launch something that is extremely valuable to your segment, right? We see more and more these, you know, digital banking for kids, LGBTQ play, you know, banks value proposition for Black people. So we see more and more these what we call niche value propositions, and they need to quickly test, right, adjust, and scale. And this kind of partnership that we have with Galileo allows us to do so, and that's why we are planning to expand as fast as possible throughout LEC, right, Tory?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just stunning to watch, and it's hard to. There's this cascade of talent and technical ability that is you know, supporting those fintechs, the startups, where, you know, I was in our networking session last night, I was introduced to an entrepreneur who's building an ag solution for Peruvian farmers. It's 2 million Peruvian farmers, and they need a fintech to support them with lending. The virtuous cycle that's created, and I think this has been echoed throughout the last day and a half of content we've had, is that we get, you know, by having success in one of those verticals, we grow the economy, you grow the economy of those farmers, and so on. And so the pie expands massively as we digitize and as you become successful. And it's really hard for me to understand who's the most ambitious. Is it the MasterCards of the world? Is it the Galileos? Is it the Wallace? Is it the farmers?
The entrepreneurs? Yeah, the farmers.
Exactly. It's all the way down through the system. I think there's a huge amount of ambition. And so let's talk about what, I mean, there might be some landmines in the way. Let me throw regulators in there. And I'm, you know, I don't see regulators as terribly ambitious. They can be, and they can be very, very productive for us. But how is that playing into this? I don't want to be too rosy about our prospects if we're going to run into a lot of regulatory challenges. What's your view on that?
Yeah, from my perspective, I mean, regulation is absolutely critical and crucial to as an enabling partner and fundamental piece of what these fintechs are able to do and how fast they're able to do them. I think it's an interesting position that you know, the region as a whole, LATAM, where, you know, fintech is relatively new. The space is relatively new. There's a lot of new players But I think they're at somewhat of an advantage in ways because they're able to look at more mature markets where, there's been different things that have been successful or not successful, and really use that to, as indicators on what needs to happen. So if you think about from a regulatory perspective and how, if you look to Mexico and how they've enabled through the Fintech law, and you can go and you can apply with the CMBV and get an EFPay license. And if you look to the US, where you're very much restricted, if you want to issue, you need to be a bank. And so it's very different, and they've been able to learn from that, and so that these fintechs have been able to kind of come out of the gate swinging and really make a lot of noise very, very quickly. So I think it's cool to see that learning in some of these different pieces where Latin America is actually maybe leapfrogging some of where the regulatory bodies have maybe held up these fintechs and other markets. So I think that it's great to have partners that are able to see that and able to kind of work through those details within LATAM.
Yeah, and even beyond that, right? So the launch of PIX, the open banking regulation, the data management laws that are being announced, improved, and implemented, right? Because it's all about the stages. But I think that the critical piece here is there is a proactive agenda and positive agenda from the most relevant markets in Latin America, right? So if you think about Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Peru, Colombia, even Chile, which is a little bit more financially included, and we see as a more tough market for fintechs to kind of really enter and get a huge amount of customers, but still all of them are with positive agendas around the key topics, right? So again, real-time payments, open banking, data management, financial institutions, right? The different types of payment and financial institutions. So all of these is kind of pushing the entire ecosystem to feel more and more comfortable, to see that the barriers are being reduced. Players are, orchestrating better to allow them to test and scale, and all the environment is getting more competitive, right? And at the end of the day, designing and serving the final consumers better, right? That's, I think, is the virtual cycle that all of this discussion is leading us to.
And I will note that while in the United States we can be fortunate to have regulators like Yelena McWilliams and Brian Brooks in office who do wonderful things. We also have 50 states that may have different opinions and may file suit against one fintech or another for taking those degrees of freedom and trying to build something productive. So yeah, you could have a really productive environment, especially if we see collaboration across borders. And I think that companies like yours can perhaps play a role in there in terms of influencing that. So let's hope that does work to our favor. Let's touch quickly on a couple of audience questions, because they're starting to come in here, and we also excuse me, we also have financial inclusion that we really would love to touch on in the next few minutes. First question from the audience is there a minimum amount of capital or funding required to be able to launch a product with a BaaS provider like Galileo, banking as a service provider?
That's a great question. I mean, we definitely view our partners and the clients that we work with. From our perspective, we're also investing in you and in your success, and we see success after that success is received by you. So I think we really look to partner with the right companies that are obviously focused towards the future. We're constantly aiming to bring down that barrier for entry so that we can get more more partners and more prospects that are able to partner with Galileo with a much lower barrier to entry, that we can get you in the market even quicker. So I mean, that's constantly a goal at Galileo, and looking to make our services more available and accessible, no matter how much money you've raised or have not raised.
The next question is really about the competitive landscape, and how do the, I think it was 1,700 companies, Tiago, that you mentioned, how do they compete? It says, in an increasingly crowded and competitive LATAM market, how can fintechs compete, evolve, and be prepared to add new product lines and address growing customer bases?
I would say designing great products, being obsessed by radical transparency, because this is one of the key, kind of customer feedback that they usually use as even as slogans, right, when positioning themselves in the market. Having a clear view on their target audience, and really solving a key problem, a real pain, and making sure that this is scalable. This is something that they can scale. The solution can be scaled through technology. There are, if you think about, the market itself, there are 12 big categories and 45 subcategories, right? So there are different areas where, fintech play different roles. I think there is a huge opportunity on the B2B payment space, right? It's a market with a couple of hundreds of $1 trillion globally. So I think there is room to grow the pie, but you can never forget this, right? So be obsessed by radical transparency, design great products, and focus on solving your consumer real, daily problem. If you can make this happen, it's usually a really good path for success.
Tory, I want to let you weigh in on that. And before I do, what we heard yesterday was also thematic to what you're saying, Tiago, which is fall in love with the problem.
Yeah.
Tory, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great, I love that line, fall in love with the problem. I think this whole industry is built around solving problems, and be it at a consumer level, at a business level. It really does foster a great, a great environment for collaboration, working together to provide, those elements of transparency and educating as an industry, and working together, as well as helping to educate the end consumer, and making sure they're aware of the different products and services that they could and should have access to. So very, very exciting to be playing a role in that.
I tell you what's exciting is getting you two on stage and listening to you talk about your experience, because the view that you have of what's going on in fintech and LATAM is extraordinary. And so thank you both for your time. It's great to be here, and I'm lucky to have been slotted in place of David, who was going to have all the fun, but I got to enjoy it. So apologies to David for the technical issues we had there. And but thanks to you both. And we're going to come back in very shortly. At first, we're going to hear from one of our sponsors, Mambu, and then we'll be back with Andres Fantao, one of our friends in the industry from Finovista, interviewing Juan Guerra from RappiPay. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Tory. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.